Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to our market and trading account wrap up for Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Let's jump into the markets and take a look at what happened today. Pretty uneventful day for the most part. SPY closed down just a fraction, 0.2%. And it opened down quite a bit lower. You can see here on the daily, it bounced exactly off of the 440 line. So pretty good bounce right at the round 440 number. Finished higher, finished off of its lows for the day. Really not changing anything overall. We're heading into the FOMC meeting tomorrow. We're going to see what the Fed has to say. Nobody's expecting them to do anything with rates, but we're all waiting to see what the comments are. I think they're expecting potentially a rate hike the next meeting out, potentially. But we'll see if the Fed says, maybe we're just going to pause and we'll let the markets do their thing for a while. I do not expect any reversing course anytime soon. So I think all the people thinking, oh, let's get into TLT and everything else because the rate they're going to start reversing. They're not going to reverse rates. Okay, bonds are still going to fall. There's no reason for bonds to turn around anytime soon. The Fed's not done either, or at least they're not reversing course. Inflation is not going away. You have pretty solid CPI and PPI numbers indicating that we're not out of the woods from an inflation standpoint. All right, so SPY. Still in a downtrend on the MACD and RSI, both the weekly and the daily. If we look at the Qs, looking into the tech stocks a bit more, same thing, dropped earlier in the day, recovered a bit, still closed down fractionally on the session. MACD and RSI falling daily and weekly. And I don't see anything that is telling us that, hey, this is over. We're not going to sell off anymore. But looking at the Bollinger Bands here, you're starting to get a little bit of a squeeze looking here. If we can see the Keltner channels start to get inside of those, then potentially we're heading into a little bit of a squeeze situation where we could get a move higher or lower soon. So we'll keep an eye and see what happens. But of course, we could get a move higher or lower, but what I mean is a move with some size to it. Potentially coming up. IWM, on the other hand, did move lower on the session a little bit more, about 0.4%. It continued its selling the last 3 days. MACD, RSI falling both daily and weekly. This thing is also showing that it's got no desire to move higher. And on the weekly, below all of its moving averages. And on the daily, it is now, for the second day in a row, below all of its moving averages with the 21 below the 50 and heading lower. So we'll see what happens on IWM. Take a look at the VIX, roughly unchanged on the session, closed at 1411, up just 0.11. So really very little change, not a lot of volatility, still peeking its head into this market at all. Maybe we get a little bit of a pop on VIX if things start to sell a little bit more, but right now, not a whole lot of anything going on. Now, the US dollar did have a little bit of a pullback today. So the US dollar dropped a fraction today, which was good to see. We took a little bit of a break on the day. We're not out of the woods from a MACD or RSI perspective on the weekly, but maybe starting to get a little bit of a curl going on there. We'll see what happens. On the daily, MACD, RSI dropped today. Let's see if we start to create a little bit of a trend. What we'd like to see is several down days in a row. I think that would be good for market and especially be good for our Forex positions. TLT, I mentioned it earlier, another down day. Everybody that's getting into TLT and TMF, well, you're not seeing your assets doing a whole lot of anything. In fact, I think we could be going lower here. Let's see if we hold this 92-ish mark on TLT, but there are some estimates out there that we could go lower, as low as 60, 70 on bonds. I don't know that we're going to hit that low, but there's no reason for bonds to turn around at this point in time. The Fed's not reversing. They're going to keep increasing their rates. Okay? The US dollar is strong. Why are bonds going to turn around? I just don't understand that position. So all of these furus out there telling you to load up on TLT and TMF, it ain't happening. you're not getting a giant bounce and making millions of dollars here. So let's keep moving on. All right, so let's look at 6A, the Aussie dollar. It moved up on the day nicely as the dollar dropped. In fact, overnight we closed a strangle position. We'll talk about that more. On the British pound, a little bit of a bounce today. On the daily charts here, we are oversold, and MACD is starting to reverse itself higher. Let's see what happens. Maybe time heals it. Maybe we get a little bit of a bounce. We'll see what happens. Both good signs. Canadian dollar here moving higher. This one's been more strong than both the euro and the British pound, closer to what the Aussie dollar is doing. So both of those are in decent shape. But the euro did manage to not suck today. So it managed to gain a little bit. RSI moved up fractionally along with MACD on the daily. And maybe we're starting to get a little bit of a curl higher or reverse higher on MACD on the weekly. We'll see what happens here. But overall, a good constructive day on the euro. Oil moved higher again on the session. So we're continuing to see oil moving higher, but only fractionally today. So it was up quite a bit more at a new recent high here, breaking 92 on the session, then falling all the way back to 90.75 at the end of the day. So overall, even though on the TOS platform it says it's up 16 cents, it's really down a bit on the session. Nice to see oil taking a break here. Pretty healthy for our position, so we like it. Let's see if we get any more of a pullback. I'm not saying oil's going to 60 or even 70, but I would like to see oil drop into the upper 80s, maybe hit the 21 EMA at 86, and we'll see what happens if we pull back. So oil moving lower a little bit today, or at least not moving higher, and then gold fractionally lower on the session today, pretty much unchanged, just sitting in there, perfect for our strangles. And then if we look at lean hogs here on the session, an update. So RSI on the daily had been dropping, and today we got a little bit of a halt to that, moving back up to jive a little bit more with the weekly. Here it's all good. We're sitting at roughly a 28% winner so far on our lean hogs strangles. So I'm totally fine with where we are, sitting right in the middle of those Bollinger Bands, which are tightening. Perfect for a strangle. So it's exactly what we love to see. You can put these strangles on when the Bollinger Bands are wide. That way, as they contract, you're going to get the added benefit of less movement and volatility. And as volatility comes out, you're going to get that theta decay picking up on those. So worked pretty nicely. We take a look at the sectors today. Only in fact, let me reverse this order. Only 3 green sectors, and they were fractionally green: 0.08, 0.07, 0.05, XLV, XLC, and XBI. Your only positive sectors on the day. And the biggest sectors getting hit was energy and oil. So the energy sector took a pretty good hit. It has been rolling over MACD on the weekly, and it's been rolling over on the daily here. So we're getting a nice pullback on the XLE, which is a pretty good potential trade setup. I do like it. And then XOP oil breaking down through the 21 EMA. It's been heading south a lot longer. So these oil stocks that you see out there, your Exxons and others, really are starting to pull back a bit. We'll take a quick look at some of those. But oil pullback today, weakening several of the sectors that we see. And a lot of the big Magnificent Seven stocks pretty mixed on the session. So you had Amazon down, breaking through the 21 EMA today. You had Apple up, stopping at the 21 EMA today. You had Microsoft down, breaking down, and staying down through the 21 and the 50 EMA. Then you had Meta up, breaking up through the 21 EMA. Then you had Google pretty much flat on the session. NVIDIA down pretty good on the session, another 1% down. So we've gone from a high of 498 to 435 here. So we had a 60-point drop which is a pretty good pullback in NVIDIA. I'm still going to hold on to the belief that I think we need at some point to fill this gap at 320. It's going to be a pretty good hit for those of you that are super high on NVIDIA if that happens. And then Tesla was up on the day. So you have half up, half down, pretty mixed session overall on tech today. But when Apple is up and Microsoft's only down fractionally, it's going to keep the market from going down too far. And if we take a look at some of those oil stocks, Oxy been taking a pretty good hit the last couple of days. So that thing hit a high of 67, now down to about 65 and change. So down a couple points the last several sessions. And on the daily, you've got MACD and RSI both falling on the daily. So momentum definitely coming out of this run on Oxy. And we can take a look at Chevron as well. It's holding up a little bit better, but MACD and RSI starting to falter a bit on the daily, even though the weekly is pretty strong. We'll see how these things shape up. And taking a look at Bitcoin on the session, Bitcoin has been on a pretty good move since it hit that oversold RSI territory back in the middle of August. We moved up, we moved down, and then really the last week or two, we've had some pretty good up moves on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin really putting some strength in here. It's back up towards this downtrend line, which is pretty much where we halted on the session. So we halted right at this downtrend line. We'll see what Bitcoin does. But when it got outside of that 3 ATR here, I think that was a good chance for it to just calm itself down, which it did, consolidated a bit here, and now moving higher. And if we look at the weekly here, there's some good constructive movement on Bitcoin moving higher. I think we got to break this downtrend line. And if we can break through that, you've got MACD and RSI both heading higher. So good reversal candidates if you're a premium seller, trying to maybe sell puts or something on coin or MicroStrategies or something along those lines. So let's take a look at what MicroStrategy is doing. Again, just meandering around in here, not looking as good as Bitcoin, but right on this downtrend line and fussing around with that. But coin, on the other hand, has been looking pretty decent on a consolidation more recently here. So I like the way coin's responding overall. I think it's going to drop and have a little bit more of a pullback, but starting to get some tightening in the Bollinger Bands. Let's see what happens with coin. Do we get any follow through like we have in Bitcoin? All right, so there's where the markets are. Let's take a look at our portfolio and see how things shaped up on the portfolio. And let's hop into that for the session. All right, so on the 19th today, Delta ended up at 165, so extraordinarily Delta neutral on a $307,000 account. Beautiful Delta. Love where it is. We're pretty close to flat. If we got a little bit negative, I wouldn't be too upset right now. I think that's perfect. Theta, fantastic. 1,013. So for the third day in a row, over 1,000 in Theta on our account, which is 0.33%. So we managed to get that Theta back up over 3. Volatility still really hasn't capitulated. You've got VIX at 14. We need that VIX to pop up a bit more, 17, 18, low 20s, somewhere in that range. Give us a little bit more premium to sell. That's going to help our Theta out a lot. But I think we're doing pretty well on Theta overall. Net lick jumped up more again today, about another $1,000. So 307,586 on the account. So overall, right now, if we take a look, we are up 3.23% in net lick for the month, up $9,000 in value on this account in 19 days. BP for the session ended at 207,063, 67% total. Again, 10% of that is in Bill, our Treasury ETF, 1 to 3 month ETF. So we take that 10% out, and we're really sitting at about 57%. Little high, but it's really within that 50% range that we look for. And we pulled out another $1,000 in realized, 1,070 in realized, taking our total realized gains for the month $5,801, almost 2%, 1.94% is our realized gain on the month, and it's only the 19th, and we have yet to have a 112 trade actually pull off the naked puts at 95% or so. We're in the 90s, but we're not quite at 95. So I'm going to give it another couple days, another week or so. We hit that 95. I think we're going to be in great shape on the month. We've got hopefully at least one, maybe two 112 trades where we'll take the naked puts off. That should put about another $4,500 in our pockets for the month. Let's take a look at what we did on the session from a trading standpoint. We had two trades. As I mentioned early this morning, about 3 a.m. Eastern, we had our Aussie dollar strangle come off at 50% winner. We had put this thing on back on July 21st, and we managed to pull that off today. $720 win on the session. So fantastic day, 50% winner, 25% return on capital on this one. So this is why I love futures. I love the leverage that you get in futures. Fantastic on 6A. So put $720 in our pockets. And then we also did another 0 DTE. Again, this is not my strong suit. It's not what I like trading. However, when the opportunity presents itself, I think you got to take a look at it and jump on it. So I'm not trading 0 DTE, maybe like everybody else is doing, where they're opening up an at the money iron fly or iron condors, or they're doing multiple entries. Who wants to place that many trades and watch this thing all day long? I'm just playing directional. Okay? I'm waiting till I get my signals. I'm playing directional. I'll show you exactly how we did this today. So hopefully this will make some sense for you. And let's take a look at the activity in the account, and I'll show you what I did on the 0 DTE trade as well. So here's what we closed on the session. The Aussie dollar closed at 3:38 in the morning for that 50% winner. Then we put on at 9:38. So remember 9:38, we put on that SPX call credit spread. So call credit spread, we did a 20 wide, took in 50 cents. We closed it about 22 minutes later for 0.15 or 15 cents. So having a pretty nice $350 winner. I didn't do any big size. I like just making $300-400 a day while I'm letting my main trades do all the heavy lifting. If I see a setup and I'm online, I'm taking it. I'll be traveling for the next couple of days. Probably won't do much of anything on 0 DTE, simply because I won't be sitting here and I'm not going to sit in front of my computer while I'm traveling. Again, how you do these multiple entry iron condors, to me, bananas. You may win some money, is great. I cannot sit there and keep placing trades all day long, but more power to the folks that do that, and if they're doing well on the session. So let's take a look at how I did this this call credit spread this morning. So if we take a look at the open, we were heading down early on in the open here. So we were definitely in a downtrend. But if I look at what was transpiring here on the 3-minute, so we're definitely in a downtrend, and we started to reverse, we started to hit some lows around 11, but we got into this thing early as this thing was trending down solidly. So direction was down, which is what I like. So I like the down direction. We were falling lower on all of the majors here, with the 21 widening against the 50. So a good downtrend on SPX at the open. So where did we go? Where did we get into this thing this morning? Around 9:30, we saw some opportunity here. Probably easier to see, I think, on ES, but we'll take a look at this little bit of an opening range here. As soon as we gapped down, okay, you could see that we reversed on MACD. It was heading lower. Stochastic momentum heading lower, and RSI was heading lower, but not oversold. So 9:38 was right about here. After we had rallied off the low, I felt it was a good time, okay, to go with the trend. On a little bit of a bounce, we were able to get in here, and then we took this thing off right around 10 o'clock after this pretty nice drop here. So we saw MACD, RSI, stochastics all heading down at the open. As soon as we had a little bit of a bounce at the open, we jumped into the trade right here, almost at this top. So we top ticked it almost. And then from there, it just continually sold off. So I love this bounce that we got in here, which gave us the chance to go lower, and took that trade, and we're able to take a good winner off of that. So there's what we did for the session today. Another 1,050 or so on the session. In fact, 1,070 on the trade day. So overall, great session today. Keep moving up. Net lick all-time highs again. Another $1,070 made on the day. $5,800 for the month, and we're up on the week already. $1,500 on the month. Not too shabby. We'll see you guys in the markets tomorrow for Fed Day. We'll see what the FOMC announcements look like tomorrow. All right, take care, everybody. Good luck trading.